Hello everybody, I am the Dire Duck. So, we've hit 5k subscribers. That's a number larger than 12. It's also not quite true, as at this point, we are well beyond 5k. It's also crazy to think about, as I know it's a cliche thing to say, but I genuinely didn't think I'd actually make it this far. This was not some planned rise on my end or anything. My channel only exists due to the encouragement of Yagster and Vanity Moth.
What? She's playing with her balls.
It wouldn't exist otherwise. So thank you for watching me all this time, and thank you to the members of this community who have helped me along the way. But enough heartfelt speeches, you came here for some hot takes, and I shall deliver. So, enough prattling for me, it is time for some more prattling for me, while reading all your takes. So, let's begin. Also, sorry if I butcher your names, I am very dumb. First up we have Death Templar with Murder Drones Episode 5 really wasn't all that bad. Starting off with a bang here, aren't we? Now, personally, I don't hate episode 5. It certainly has its problems, but does it deserve all the hate it gets? Not really. I think part of the reason why it's so hated is because it was the first episode where people really started to see the flaws in the show. This is the point where the show lost its perfect status for a lot of people, which I have a feeling gave a lot of people a sour taste in their mouths. Like, a lot of the issues we find in this episode are found in the earlier and future episodes as well. So, it's not like it's uniquely flawed. But again, I think this is when people really started to notice the problems. It doesn't help that Michael Kovacs said that this was the best episode yet, or something like that, which generated a lot of hype building up to the episode's release. But yeah, episode 5, while definitely on the weaker end of the series, it's not this completely terrible thing like many claim. Next up we have Blanter saying that Khan is a better parent than Nori, and also has the best drip in the show. Now, while I can't really comment on his drip, I think there is something to be said about his parenting. The thing about Khan is that he was actually the parent that was around for Uzi while Nori was not. But to be fair to Nori, she was murdered by presumably N, though then again, Nori was actually still alive during all of this and made no attempt to contact the colony between then and now. And looking at how she acts in the show, I doubt she'd be a very responsible parent.
You don't know me and I hate you!
So, would you rather have an absent parent or an incompetent one? That's really your choice here. From Borders to Berries, Glitch secretly hates tact, but they only keep doing it to earn money. Now, I highly doubt this, and to be honest, I'm not really sure where this would come from. For one, as you said, Digital Circus has made Glitch a lot of money. I am sure we can thank Digital Circus' success for Glitch having the confidence to form their 2D animation team. I also highly doubt that the Amazon or Netflix deal would have happened without the show's success. I can think of no real reason for why Glitch would hate their own show. Now for a familiar face I'm sure you all know, Yagster. And he says, Tessa should have never been Sin. The tested twist, while cool on the surface, fundamentally alters the course of the entire show by making it into a generic good versus evil story. Not only was the foreshadowing for the twist itself very poorly executed, but it also forced the show into an extremely bad predicament regarding its ending. Don't like how episode 8 ended? You could blame the tested twist for that. Don't like how Sin was defeated? You could blame the tested twist for that. Don't like how episode 8 only had a 20-minute runtime? You can blame the tested twist for that. Now, this is an interesting one by Yag. On the one hand, I quite like the testing twist. It feels very classic Liam, which considering that I always thought the show felt more like a Glitch show rather than a Liam show in a lot of ways up until that point, it was refreshing to see something unquestionably Liam. However, Yag does have a point here. If Tessa was a human, it would put N in a very difficult situation. If she was right about all the things she said, N would have needed to have killed Uzi in order to save the world and everyone else. Though, quite obviously, he is reluctant to do that. So N is now put in a very difficult moral dilemma. He can either choose to save Uzi, or save the world.
Mostly the world part.
A choice that was built up throughout episodes 6 and 7. This resulted in Tessa becoming a very interesting character, being placed into what was basically shaping up to be an antagonistic role, but also being able to be equally considered the hero of the story, trying to save the world and stop the Solver at any cost, especially after all the hell it put her through. But the twist slaps all that away and removes any moral ambiguity or choice from N, a choice that would have become the defining moment of his character. You could argue that he made the choice when he decapitated Tessa, but the twist removes any weight from that decision. While there were more clever hints to the twist than most people give credit for, and I don't think it's really fair to blame the whole ending on this twist, I can agree that at least on paper, the way the plot was going before the twist was stronger from a narrative perspective. Now for another familiar face, Khan Goatman, and he says, Khan made the right decision for leaving his daughter for dead during the pilot. The classic Khan did nothing wrong take, and in this case I actually agree, because you have to assess things logically here. He had two options. He could either A, gamble on trying to pick up and use Uzi's railgun, a gun that from his perspective doesn't even work, a gun that he would need to bend down and pick up before aiming and shooting, which at any point N could just kill him in like 100 different ways. Or he can make the difficult decision to shut the last door in order to try and lock out the DDs and prevent them from breaching further into the colony. Given the scenario, he made the tough choice of sacrificing one life for the survival of hundreds, which at the end of the day is what you would want from a leader who is in charge of the safety of everyone. Though it should be said, from a writing perspective, this scene was 100% supposed to show that Khan is a coward and a poor father, so it is perfectly reasonable to operate on that assumption. Though, when you step back and view it logically, Khan's actions made sense in the moment. Next from Gifrip, episode 8 is exactly what it needed to be. The thing is, Murder Drones has so many plot points going simultaneously, many of which we hadn't really gotten a proper conclusion for, so I can't really say I agree with this. The show clearly tried to rush the finale, and it shows. When the series has so much going on at once, you can't just have the final episode be a 20-minute fight scene. I know that's an oversimplification, but the finale really needs to be a lot longer to fully flesh out all the plot points they had going and actually give them a satisfying conclusion. I know for a fact that the finale soured a lot of people's view on the series, and made it feel like the 2 to 3 year investment they made in the show's story was a pointless waste of time. So, if there's a not insignificant amount of people that feel that way, there is probably at least something wrong with the finale. Speaking of which, from Vanity Moth, episode 8 retroactively made every prior episode worse for one reason or another. As I said before, there are a lot of plot points that aren't really followed up on, and Vanity Moth gives a great example from each episode, though there are even more than this. It really does feel like this show was written with more episodes or a full second season in mind, but as we all know, that didn't end up happening for one reason or another. You could argue some of these scenes in the finale were supposed to represent some of these arcs, like Khan slamming the door on Uzi representing his redemption arc, but again, these little moments are not enough to fully resolve these arcs, at least not in a proper manner. Fundamentally, Murder Drones had too many good ideas for its own good, and they ended up biting off more than they could chew in the end. So, a lot of these ideas that drew people into the show in the first place never got concluded, and as such, left a bitter taste in many people's mouths. From Interstellar Production 25, we have Murder Drones Episode 3, The Promenading is the equivalent to straight up cringe. I actually really agree with this one, honestly, as this might be the spiciest take in the video, but I really don't like Episode 3. In fact, I would go so far as to say that I like Episode 5 more. Heretical, I know. Now, I'm not going to try and gaslight you into believing that Episode 3 is actually secretly the worst episode, as in quite a lot of ways it is objectively better than Episode 5, but I still personally dislike it. I find the whole prom part of the episode so, well, cringe. It feels just a little bit too silly to see everyone in dresses at a prom. While the cringy, lighter moments are normal in the series and are featured a lot, I feel this is the show's first jump the shark moment. And I personally see Episode 3 to be the start of the meandering middle part of the series, along with Episode 4 and 5. Again, it's not a bad episode, but I can't really say I like it as much as the others. Coming from Presto the Magnificent, Murder Drones has the worst pilot of the 3 modern glitch shows. I mean, maybe? From a technical perspective, yes, I would agree. But we also have to remember that Glitch was a much less experienced company back then, so I don't think it's necessarily fair to compare them. I would say that the overall best pilot right now is the Gaslight District one, but I do think MD still stands tall even with the inherent disadvantages of it being the first modern Glitch show. Following from that, we have Just Some Funny, who believes that the middle of the series almost killed the show, and if it weren't for the high quality of episode 7, they think MD would have died much sooner. This is more talk about the meandering middle part of the show I alluded to, though of course I would add episode 3 to the list as well as episodes 4 and 5. I do think the long wait near the end of the series created a lot of issues in the community, especially for the finale, and made the whole thing feel a lot worse in people's eyes. As they waited so long for the series finale, they expected something a lot longer and grander than they ended up getting. Next up, we have Ferris with N was actually a well-developed character. I'm sick of people not seeing it. N does have development, but it's all very crammed in and somewhat implied. It is very clearly a symptom of the show lacking the time in order to push these characters' arcs like they really needed to. So yes, N does have character development, I will say, but if many people don't notice that development, is it really good development? N is merely one of the many characters whose development is expressed in very short scenes that we don't linger very long on. So it seems like a character just lurches forward, and development and growth doesn't feel very natural or earned in any way. This is the reason why many people don't believe N had much character development to begin with. From Once in a Blue Moon 32, we have V should not come back. It makes her sacrifice feel wasted and like it was just a plot point so they could plot Sparky in for more merch, or so they could raise hype for episode 8. I doubt Sparky's inclusion was for merch purposes, but V's position at the end of episode 6 was very complicated. The issue with V is that her arc was not completed when she quote-unquote died, so she really had to come back in order to complete her character. So they kind of wrote themselves into a corner where they were damned if they did or damned if they didn't. Next up we have Stego Aqua, with them saying Glitch knew what they were doing with J and V's Fire Highs. While I don't think they set out with that intention, they must have surely clicked on by now, right? Like, they can't not know what they've done here. Moving swiftly along, we have NASCAR is Cool, who says Heartbeat is way overhated. Agreed. In fact, I would go so far as saying it is one of the best episodes in the series. Another hot take for myself there. To my mind, Heartbeat is the workhorse of the show. It is the episode that follows the pilot and sets up all the plot points and character motivations going forward. It sets up the Solver, Doll, Nori's fate, V's hidden knowledge, and the wider mystery of Copper 9. It also adds in some much needed character moments for our side characters. Like, this is the only episode where all the side characters actually do something in the plot. It is also one of the only episodes that is somewhat able to balance the comedy and horror of the show quite well, at least in my opinion. I am aware that the general consensus is that Heartbeat is too slowly paced, but to my mind, I think the show needed more slow moments. As frankly, it's nice to just see the show take its time for it rather than running 100 miles an hour, like it does in every other episode. Heartbeat had to set the tone and expectation for the rest of the series, filling in from the pilot, and I think he did a very good job of that. Continuing on, we have Boydoy, who says, Murdrones will never and shouldn't ever get a second season. Liam is a brilliant storyteller. I want to see what else he has up his sleeves as opposed to doing another 3 to 4 years of MD. To me personally, when I compare the concepts and ideas of Let's Split Up, Auto-Ejector, Cliffside, and Intonation Cube, I think they're all kind of more interesting, at least conceptually in my head, than MD itself. That's not even counting his old SSGWL works. But I guess we may never know how a full story of any of these shows would have turned out, at least not yet. Not to mention that if you watched my Evolution of Murdrones video, which you all should have, a lot of the characters and ideas from all these shows were later reused in Murdrones itself, so there's something to be said there. Right, for the final hot take now, we have Musa Weaver. Murdrones lore is still being discussed so much only because it's too vague and inconsistent. Yeah, there are still many things we don't know, which have been the source of much debate and, let's be real with ourselves, arguing. With all the plot lines that have gone unresolved and other things that just feel half-baked, there is a lot of room to speculate. But in some sense, is that not part of the fun? If people didn't enjoy discussing and speculating on the lore of Murdrones, then we wouldn't all still be doing it. And hey, it led to the creation of so many fan projects with their own interpretations of many ideas in the show. So maybe it all worked out for the best in the end. And with that, we have come to the end. I hope you've all enjoyed. If this video does well, I will sure to make another, and there's a lot more to go through. If your comment wasn't featured, I'm very sorry, but obviously there was a lot of you. Maybe next time. But be sure to let me know what you think of all these hot takes in the comment section below. Anyway, that'll be all from me. Remember to like and subscribe and all the other things that every other YouTuber tells you to do. I would really appreciate it. And hey, check out all my other videos, some of which are probably even good. Maybe. Either way, I hope to see you all again very soon. Bye bye.